Out of the rush comes power. Out of the silence, a voice that refuses to fade. Silence was never safety. It has always been a cage. And I'm done living quietly. They told us to stay quiet, to keep it inside. But every heartbeat has a story. And it's time the world hear ours. Welcome to Breaking the Silence podcast. I'm your host, Seer Monique K. Francis. Let's break the silence. Claim our inheritance. Hey warriors, hey survivors. Welcome to episode number 1 of Breaking the Silence podcast, which is entitled The Weight of Silence. This is where we will be acknowledging the pain and courage it takes to even begin healing. So many of us have lived our lives behind invisible walls for years, smiling through pain, pretending everything's okay, while inside we are breaking apart. Silence becomes our shield, but also our prison. In this episode, we will talk about that kind of a silence. The way trauma barges in, making us doubt our worth, our beauty, our rights to exist freely. We'll talk about why breaking that silence feels impossible and why doing it, even in whispers, can be the start of our freedom. This is where we start, not with perfection, but with honesty. Now, there's a kind of silence that isn't peaceful, my friend. Not even for a second. It's not the quiet you find in the middle of the night or the kind that keeps you rest in your mind. It's the kind of silence that lives inside your chest. It's heavy, it's suffocating, full of everything you have never been able to say out loud. Maybe you know that silence that I'm talking about. I've lived through it. Maybe it starts the moment something was taken from you. Your safety, your innocence, your trust. Maybe it started when someone hurt you or the world told you to keep quiet. When they told you no one would believe you. When they made you feel like what happened to you was somehow your fault. And so you stayed quiet. You smiled when you were breaking. You showed up for people who never really understood what it took you to just get out of bed in the mornings. You carry the weight of your own pain alone because silence felt safer than rejection. Safer than judgment. But here's the truth that no one told you. Silence doesn't protect you. It only buries you. It takes your authority. It takes your confidence. And it robs you of your voice. And what you have been through, it doesn't deserve to be spoken. That's what silence will tell you. But can I tell you that you deserve to be heard? Breaking the silence isn't easy. In fact, it's terrifying. It means reopening wounds you have spent years trying to ignore. It means admitting that something actually happened. Something that wasn't your fault. Something you didn't deserve. It means letting yourself feel again, even when feeling hurts. But it also means something else. My friends, fellow warriors, fellow survivors, it means freedom. It means taking your voice back from the people who tried to steal it. It means saying, I'm still here. and realizing that surviving was the bravest thing you have ever done. Listen to me, there's no time limit for healing. You don't have to be okay right now, my friends. You don't even have to forgive or forget right now, or find meaning in what broke you. Not yet. Not yet. What matters most is that you are here, listening, breathing, taking this one small step towards yourself. You see, healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about learning to carry it, but very differently, with less shame and more compassion and more grace. It's about realizing that what happened to you doesn't define you. It may be part of your story, but it's not the ending. So today I'll be sharing with you guys my story of how I went from traumatized to being triumphant. I'm telling you this story not from a place of brokenness, but from a place of complete healing and wholeness. Now, there was a time I didn't talk much, not because I didn't have words, but because I didn't think that my words, they mattered to anyone at all. Can you actually relate to something like that? Have you ever been silenced where you feel like your voice or your words or the story would not matter? You feel like you would have been blamed. I was once there. I carried this silence like it was my only means of protection. Y'all, I carried this thing, and eventually it started to bury me. I felt like I was walking, but I was dead. I felt like I was going through the motions. It was just skin and bones. My soul was completely buried. I was unalived. I was not here to be real. This was how I broke that silence door and how I learned to breathe again. Do you want to breathe again? Do you want to be able to inhale the ruach of God so that everything that seems dead in your life can be revived? You know, the Lord spoke to Ezekiel and he said, "Son of man, can these dry bones live?" And Ezekiel said unto him, "Lord, thou knowest." So I am saying to you today, do you believe that the dryness in your life, the dead situations in your life can be revived, can come alive again? I know for a fact that God can do it because I am a living testimony of the goodness of God. I'm a living testimony of what God can do when you completely surrender the hurt, the pain, the neglect, the rejection. When you surrender this thing to God, He can make something that was bad beautiful again. In the book of Genesis chapter 50 verse 20, the scripture says that though you meant me harm, though you meant it for my destruction, God turned it around for my good. So though the enemy thought that this thing would have destroyed you, that you would have taken your life, look at God turning it around for your good, because you are still here. You are still here. Now, it started with a pain I didn't know how to name. I was raped, and after that, everything in me went quiet. I wasn't just afraid, my friends. I was also ashamed. I smiled in public. I laughed when expected to. But inside, I was hollow. And worse, I believed the lies that it told me anyway. It told me anyone that I spoke to, they wouldn't believe me. They'd look at me differently. Maybe they wouldn't even think that the person that did it was to be blamed. They would probably think that I'm to be blamed. The lies that the enemy told. So I said nothing. And the pain didn't just vanish. It echoed in me over and over and over again. And his favorite time to speak is when everything else is quiet. The torture of the silence. Years passed by, and I carried silence like a second skin, my friends. But silence is not a light weight to carry. It is very heavy. It's a burden. It's a yoke of bondage. It wears you down slowly. And that's what it did to me. You forget who you are underneath that skin that you have created. And you know, one night I remember this like it just happened. I was laying on the couch, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Have you ever cried so hard that you are finding it difficult to breathe? Oh, my friends. My chest felt like it would collapse. I felt like I was having a mini heart attack. And I thought, what will I do now? And a thought whispered to my soul, you don't belong here anymore. That scared me. I wanted to escape, for sure. But there was nowhere to go except to the truth. I had to face it somehow. So I knew that I had to speak. I had to gain my voice back. So I called someone and I said, I need help. Simple as that. I need help. It wasn't poetic. My friends, I wasn't brave. It wasn't brave. It was broken. And it was honest. That, my friend, was survival. That was the beginning. Yeah, that's where it all started. Have you ever felt trapped, unheard, and tormented in your own skin, in your own soul, just wanting to be free? I was there. I was afraid to be in silence. I was afraid to be in a quiet place because I knew the thoughts they would speak very loudly. And they would say things that would scare me. Telling my story didn't heal me overnight. Oh no, it did not. In fact, every time I opened up my mouth, I felt the sting of a vulnerability. So I know you're probably saying to yourself right now, man, I'm so ashamed of this story. I don't think I should say anything. I'm too ashamed to say what actually happened. I'm too ashamed to describe what they did to me. But over time, I realized that the more I shared my story, my truth, the less power shame had over me. Oh my God. I journaled. I prayed. I talked to people around. I started saying things out loud, things that I never usually spoke. I started speaking just to remind myself they were real. My friend, your feelings, they are valid. They are real. The emotions, they are real. I was hurt. It wasn't my fault. I deserve to be whole, was some of the things that I would shout aloud, making a solemn declaration in the atmosphere, letting the enemy know that you are trying to get me out. But I know whose I am. I might be fighting my way through this thing right now, but I will come out on the other side. I learned that my voice, it indeed mattered. It indeed mattered. I had to learn that. I had to learn it all over again. Not because I said everything perfectly, but because I said it at all. Because I spoke up. Then here comes the rising. My friends, healing is not a straight line. It is absolutely not linear. It has relapses. Yes, it does. That's just reality. It's real. This is real life. I had days I wanted to shrink back into silence. But now, my friends, fellow survivors, I live out loud. I speak not just for the girl I was, but my friends, I speak now for the woman I'm becoming. I found people who would listen to me and not judge. Who didn't try to fix me, but let me hurt in peace. Let me go through all the emotions. Let me feel all the feels. And they empathize with me. They didn't show me sympathy. They showed me empathy because that's what I needed. That's what I needed. I found out that my voice actually had power. Because these people, they sat with me in it. And not only did the people around sat with me, Jesus came in the pain with me. He came in the hurt. He came in the struggle. He came in the rejection. He came in the abuse. He came in. And in his presence, I remembered I wasn't broken. I was still here. And that was enough. That was enough. I remembered when I was going through that situation. I remember the night I was leaving an event at school. And I had missed the last bus that was going back to where I was from in the countryside of Jamaica. And I had to take a taxi in order to get home. And every taxi that pulled up, it was a struggle to get in because individuals wanted also to go home. And I remember taxis came and they left because it was a tussle to get in. And this red taxi pulled up. I had questions. I had a gut feeling. But I just wanted to go home. And I remembered I went to the taxi driver and I said, "Sir, are you going to St. Thomas?" And he said, "Yes, I'm going to St. Thomas." And I felt somewhat at peace. And I remember whilst I was waiting for him to gather more passengers, the feeling came back in my gut. The feeling of nervousness, the feeling of fear, the feeling of deep anxiety came in the pit of my stomach. And I went to the man and I said, "Sir, are you sure you are going to St. Thomas?" And he says, "Yes." So a lady came as well. And she said, "Are you going to St. Thomas?" And the man said, "Yes." And she went in the taxi. 2 other guys along with him. And I said, "Okay, a lady's in the taxi, so I could go in this taxi." And I entered the taxi. And I felt somewhat at peace because there was also a lady in this taxi. And when this lady was in this taxi, all of a sudden I started feeling anxious. And I was like, oh my God, I don't like this feeling. Something bad is about to happen. My gut is telling me. So I asked the gentleman one more time. I said, sir, are you really going to St. Thomas? And he says, yes. After that, the lady that was in the taxi, we got about 2 miles down the street, and this lady got out of the taxi, and I started shaking my head. I said, oh my God, I am going to get raped. I'm gonna be raped tonight. And I started crying because I just knew it. I felt it in my being. I felt it. And afterwards, one of the guys came out the taxi about 3 miles down the road. And there it was. That feeling of total defeat came. And I was like, yeah, I'm about to be raped. I'm about to be raped. And I said, God, I can't believe you're going to allow me to get raped tonight. Please, God, show up for me. And the taxi turned off the road into the bushes. It was so dark. It was just bushes. There was one house that was far away up in the bushes. So if I was screaming, there was no one that could have heard. And I said, God, I can't believe you're going to allow me to get raped tonight. And the gentleman, they started being very aggressive with me. They told me to open the door and told me to get out of the taxi. They started hitting me in the face. They started using the gun to butt me in the head, in my face. They had the gun pointed to my head. They had the gun at one point in my mouth. And they were giving me instructions. And they were telling me, you know, what to do. And these guys, they raped me. They took turns and they raped me. Whilst I was there bleeding profusely, they were raping me with no remorse. They had absolutely no remorse for all I was feeling. And I remembered I tried saying the Lord's Prayer, and I could not remember all of it. And I remember I was saying Psalms 91, and all I could remember was, under his wings shall thou trust. Under his wings shall thou trust. And I remembered they told me to get out of the taxi after they were finished raping me. And they told me to get on my knees. And they pointed a gun to my head. And I looked to the sky. I looked to the sky and I said, God, if you are seeing, if you are hearing, please show up for me. Don't let them kill me. My mom is depending on me. I got recommended to do CXC subjects. I have to stay alive. You have to spare my life. And I remember them cursing me out, using expletives, calling me derogatory names, being very disrespectful. And they said, not even God can save you. And I remember them pointing the gun to my head and squeezing the trigger, and nothing happened. The gun stick. The gun jammed. And they pointed the gun towards the sky, and a bullet came out, and I was like, oh my God. And they quickly returned it to my head and squeezed the trigger, and nothing happened. Woo! And they pointed to the sky, and a bullet came out, and they did it a third time and pointed to my head, and nothing happened. And I remembered They pointed it to the sky one more time, and a bullet came out. And the guy said, I told you she was cursed. Because what is this? The gun doesn't even work on her. And I started thanking God for showing up for me. One might look at it and say, how did God show up but you are still raped? If you knew the latter end of every rape situation, half the time, 99.999% of the time, you are unalived. But God said not so. Not so. When the devil said yes, God said no. He was not through. He was not through with me yet. And I said, here is what you're gonna do. You're gonna take me to my destination. That's what you're going to do. You're going to take me to my destination. And a long story short, they got me to my destination. And they told me to get out of the car, and they drove away. Left me on the street, bleeding, frantic, paranoid, traumatized. And I was just there, thinking, God, thank you. I coulda, shoulda, woulda been there. Oh my God. And that was the pain, my friends, that stuck with me for many years. As silence told me to keep quiet. So as I shared my story with you, I'm encouraging you all that's listening to me. If you have been through such a traumatic experience, whether at this magnitude, it doesn't even matter how intense it was, as long as it has pushed you in a place of silence, vulnerability, shame, disgrace, defeat, this, my friend, is evidence. My life is a living testimony that God ain't through with you yet. It ain't over until God says it's over. What you have been through doesn't define you. Your current situation is not your final destination. The blueprint that heaven had for your life is still stand. And God is going to make something beautiful out of your life. God is going to make something beautiful out of your story. Hold on. Son of man, can the dryness in your life come alive again? The answer is yes, God can do it. My friends, fellow warriors, fellow survivors, it means freedom. It means taking your voice back from the people who tried to steal it. It means saying, I'm still here, and realizing that surviving was the bravest thing you have ever done. Listen to me, there's no time limit for healing. You don't have to be okay right now, my friends. You don't even have to forgive or forget right now, or find meaning in what broke you. Not yet. Not yet. What matters most is that you are here, listening, breathing, taking this one small step towards yourself. You see, healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about learning to carry it, but very differently, with less shame and more compassion and more grace. It's about realizing that what happened to you doesn't define you. It may be part of your story, but it's not the ending. So if no one has ever told you this before, believe me, you didn't imagine it, and you didn't deserve it. And you don't have to carry it alone anymore. Here on Breaking the Silence, this is your space. A space to cry, a space to breathe, a space to release what you have held inside for far too long. Together, we'll talk about the rebuilding trust, rediscovering your worth, building your self-esteem, and learning how to see yourself with love again, because silence ends here and healing begins with your voice, even if it's trembling. So I invite you today to ask the Lord to heal your wounds. Say, Lord, give me the strength to overcome. Give me the strength to see me as Evan sees me. Give me the strength and the courage to accept those things that I cannot change, and to change the things that I can by starting to speak, by starting to give my hidden story a voice. Father, thank you for your kindness towards your people. Thank you for your kindness towards your daughter. Thank you for your kindness even towards your son, mighty God. Heal, bind up their wounds. Heal a broken heart. Heal a wounded, broken spirit today. As I leave them in your hands and I tell you thanks. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen and amen. My friends, maybe you have been living in silence too. Maybe you think your words don't matter, but they do. Your story is sacred, and speaking it whenever you're ready is a form of resurrection. Your story, my friend, is worth speaking. If you're struggling today, I want you to know you're not alone. Breaking the silence isn't easy, but it's worth it. Because on the other side of silence, my friend, is your freedom. So today, I invite you to be free. My friends, you are seen. You are worthy. You are not alone. Until next time, keep breathing, keep believing, keep becoming. This is Breaking the Silence. Claim your inheritance. God bless you. Shalom.